and the community. Welcome. It's time for the Partnerships Positive Podcast. From the Morgan County Partnership with our hosts, I'm Mrs. Hott, the Positive Actions and Digital Media Facilitator, and...
Hi, hola, es hora de acción positiva. Hi, community. I'm Mrs. Sheima, Morgan County Partnership Positive Actions and Digital Media Facilitator.
And I'm Miss Nikki, Positive Actions and Too Good for Drugs Program Facilitator and Family Coordinator. And welcome to the Partnerships Positive Podcast.
The Morgan County Partnership joins you weekly for an exciting look at positive programs, news, and features to help build empathy, foster core values, health, and family wellness in our homes, community, and around the world.
Whether you are 2 or 92, each new Partnership Positive podcast we will feature fun and exciting information to help you manage and balance life here in Morgan County to West Virginia and below.
And we are so happy to offer weekly public service announcements with core value discussions to help us build strong families.
Let's get started. Awesome, guys. Thanks for joining us, neighbors, on the Positive Podcast. We have been sharing this week about how diversity can change the world. Can you tell us, Miss Sheima, what's coming up next?
Well, we continue with today's news positive preset from positive.com. Here it is. Watch your thoughts, for they become words. Watch your words, for they become actions. Watch your actions, for they become habits. Watch your habits, for they become character. Watch your character, for it will become your destiny.
That is beautiful, Miss Sheima. Thank you. Can I ask you this? What do you think it means?
I see a core value that is essential today and always. It is our next positive word of this week, character.
That's right, Miss Sheima, character. And this quote is from a fella named Frank Outlaw. Miss Nikki, can you please tell us a little more about Frank?
Yes, I can. We find that Frank Outlaw was the late president of a chain of grocery stores in the southeastern U.S. centered around Jacksonville, Florida. However, this concept of character also appears in many positive precepts too. For example, Ralph Waldo Emerson, an American essayist, lecturer, philosopher, and poet who led the
Transcendentalist.
Thank you. Transcendentalist movement of the mid-19th century. Ralph Waldo Emerson began his career as a Unitarian minister in Boston, but achieved worldwide fame as a lecturer and the author of such essays as Self-Reliance, History, The Oversoul, and Fate.
Awesome.
I feel good character. It's even more important than a talent.
That's really interesting, Sheima. Why is that?
Because talents are like gifts. But good character, by contrast, it's not given to us. We have to build it pace by pace with our thoughts, choices, and willingness to do what is right even when no one is looking. That is a good character.
That's right. Character is actually way more valuable than reputation. And our community needs examples of strong character to help build strong families.
Exactly. So, for our positive action word this week, we'll be looking at the important core value, character, at home and in our community.
Let's listen to this.
He wanted to be known for doing his best. Right. His best made him Major League Baseball's most valuable player. He played in 6 World Series and was elected to the Hall of Fame. Although an honest man, he was best at stealing home. But the best quality of Jackie Robinson's life was his character. So here's to you, Mr. Robinson. Thanks for passing it on. From the Foundation for a Better Life at PAWsome.com.
That was PAWsome. I love that he said he wanted to be known for doing his best.
That's cool. And looking back, Jackie Robinson, we may always envision Jackie Robinson, the baseball player, in his uniform on the baseball field. But in addition to being a phenomenal athlete, Robinson was a pioneer, a hero, and a representative of many values that continue to inspire us today. And he stands as a true example of innovation and foresight based in the strength of character he had to achieve. And we can do that too, to achieve any goal you can imagine.
Wow. And he continues to inspire young and old. Well, Mrs. Hott, what positive programs do we have coming up in our neighborhood this week?
Oh, all right, Ms. Sheima. We don't want our families to miss our positive programs online and in the community. Our next positive word is character, and the Morgan County Partnership's upcoming daily wellness programs on social media and for our neighbors begin each week with Moto Monday. For this coming Monday, we will be featuring a fun vlogcast with me and Ms. Sheima to motor up your week with inspiration, and you'll find out what character really looks like from a group of teens. Just wait till you see this video and be sure to watch it. And parents, discuss this with your family, because the choice that these teens make on Monday's Moto video, it just might surprise you. And then what's next?
Tuesday, story time for August 11, we feature the new PBS Race and Diversity book series. While Hott will be reading I Believe I Can, a tribute to the limitless potential of boys and girls of every background by Grace Byers.
What a great book. Then on Wednesdays, we have Positive Yoga for Kids with Lacey. You will learn some new poses and relaxation games. And if you haven't joined Positive Yoga for Kids, each lesson is perfect for first timers, and it is great for all ages.
Awesome. Thursdays, stay tuned for Miss Nikki's Positive Parents PSA feature for families on social media.
Also on Thursdays, neighbors, for the rest of this summer, Violet returns with more of PBS's Race and Diversity stories. Now for August 13th, we continue with another beautiful story called Amazing Grace. Now, here's a quick quote from it. It says, with her characteristic confidence and high-flying imagination, it's up to Grace to prove she can do anything she sets her mind to. This book is by Mary Hoffman and illustrated by Caroline Finch. And I tell you what, Grace has a lot of character. I can't wait for our neighbors to hear this story. And what's next?
Friday, the Partnership's Positive Podcast each week. Join us for our new PAWsome words. And I'm Still Here, Family Audiobook chapter, Positive Stories and Community Talent.
Whoa. And finally, stay connected. Get our Morgan County Partnership free mobile app. Go to Apple Store or Google Play. Please listen soon for the winners for the giveaway. Morgan County Partnership will be giving away airdrops and a grocery card soon.
Wow, you guys, next week's media is full of wellness programs about character.
And for our parents and caregivers, let's listen to our PSA from Miss Nikki with more about character. Miss Nikki, are you ready?
I am. You know, it's interesting because character isn't one thing. It's the pattern a person demonstrates by how they interact with others and how they treat themselves. A person with good character acts, thinks, and feels in a way that matches some commonly accepted good traits, like being honest, respectful, responsible, caring, fair. Actually, what I noticed is a lot of words that attribute to character are words that we have as our words of the week in a lot of places. Kindness, courage, self-control, honesty, generosity, compassion, integrity, isn't that cool that all of those come together as things we've been talking about? So boys and girls, when you think about your character, think about all of our words of the week that we've learned over the years in positive actions. It is, character is a trait that it kind of shows your behavior that are valued by community and society around you. So back to the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. And if you use that, your character will be positive and kind of shine through, I think.
That's cool, Miss Nikki. That's so right. I like how you said all of those qualities of a positive character are absolutely many of our positive action words, aren't they? And the thing I like to tell, they are, right? The thing I like to tell our neighbors too is that try your best to work on your character, and also look for the character in others, because those people you hang out with and the choices that they make are part of their character, and it's a reflection on us too, the people that we choose to be friends with, what their character is like. So if we're hanging out with folks who are making good choices and they have good character, then it's going to help influence your choices as well, right? And I feel like that's relative. I know, like maybe for teens who have been home for this summer, they've had some maybe opportunities to do some risky behavior, and a person's character might come into question sometimes. And it's important that we let our neighbors know that it's okay to watch and look for another person's actions, because it can affect the choices that we make, the people who have positive character, right? And I say that for our teens because I want them to be safe, and I want them to make choices to stay away and avoid risky behavior. And some things like that lead to things that are harmful to our health, like drugs and alcohol. And I know right now that we're home a lot more. People might tend to say, "Oh, it's okay," but it's not, So prevention is so important, and it's your value your character and make those choices so you stay with people who are also making good choices for their character too. Now, I found something I want to share next. This is from a prevention link, and let's take a listen to this PSA from prevention about and think about this, neighbors. Think about this PSA and how important it is for our character.
We all make choices about alcohol. Kids make choices whether to drink or not.
Bye, Dad. Remember, I'm going to Alex's party tonight and sleeping over.
Hey, remind me about that party again? And adults make choices whether to talk about it. That's true of parents and every other trusted adult in a kid's life. Kids want to know our expectations, and they want honest answers in everyday conversations. So talk with your kids and help lead them on a positive path, because when you talk, they hear you. Learn more at underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
All right, positive podcasters, it's time for our community announcements. Neighbors, districts all over the country are making decisions about how to go back to school, right? And locally in our community, the Morgan County Board of Ed has provided a list of frequently asked questions about how virtual school will look.
Today, we will take a look at some answers provided from morganschools.net.
And if you are in another county or state, you may find some similar new procedures being arranged. We hope that the following information is helpful, and by listening may guide you to find the best solution for your family.
Be sure to follow up with your local reps, and if you need help, please just call us, and we're here to try to assist you in making the connections that you need. Remember, these programs are from Morgan County, but others will be making similar steps. So let's begin with the Morgan County's Virtual Academy's frequently asked questions. And neighbors, we'll take a look at this. It's also available on the school webpage. If you hear something and you want to delve into it more, you can certainly click on that and find more information. So, in case you're wondering, the first question is this. We'll take turns, and I'll start with the first one. Says, what platform will be used for virtual school? And the answer is this. All students and teachers in Morgan County will be using Schoology as a learning management system. Classwork, grades, parent communication, and curriculum will be delivered through this platform. The single sign-on feature will eliminate the need to sign into multiple apps. Classes will be taught by Morgan County teachers using the West Virginia Department of Education standards. Sheima, you want to read the next question?
The next question is, what is the daily schedule? Daily schedule for courses will be set by the school's teacher and communicate to families. We will do our best to be flexible to meet families' needs.
And how much time do students work online each day? And the answer, the time spent online each day will vary by what is appropriate for student age. Generally, elementary students can expect 1 to 2 hours of online engagement, and middle and high school students can expect 2.5 to 3.5 hours of online per day.
Next question. Can virtual school students participate in extracurricular activities? Well, that's a good question if you're wondering that. The answer is yes. Virtual school students are treated the same as brick and mortar students with respect to eligibility and participation in extracurricular activities. So that would, guys, neighbors, that would be things like sports, right?
Yes.
Band, soccer, football, all that stuff going on.
Yep.
So that's good to know. What's next, Sheima? Right.
Next questions. Can students with IEPs or 504 plans enroll in virtual school? The answer is a student's IEP or 504 plan must be reviewed to determine whatever the necessary accommodations can be provided virtually.
I think if your student has an IEP, then you're probably going to need to check with what department would that be? Probably special ed. And if anybody needs the contact name for that, give us a call or call the school and we'll see if you can find those resources. Because it sort of seems to me like they're working that out still too for IEPs. And what's our next question, Nikki?
Will virtual school students be required to participate in the general assessment? Yes, virtual school students will be held to the same testing requirements as the brick and mortar students. So I'm assuming that's the end of the year test that they do statewide. So yes, everybody will do that.
Good. Next question. Is virtual school 5 days per week? The answer is yes. All Morgan County students will need to be engaged in learning virtually 5 days per week.
Next question is, will students get to engage with one another online? The answer is yes. There will be opportunities for synchronous live class meetings. How you say that in English?
Synchronous. That means, synchronous. Levi had a class at AU, American University, over the summer. So he engaged with other kids from around the country online. So that's how that's going to work. So, and that's a good question. You know, you might be wondering, oh, it's online. You're not going to see any other kids and friends, but it looks like they're trying to set it up so you actually will virtually be able to see people from your classes who are also in virtual school.
Are all subjects taught online in elementary? And the answer is yes. All subjects will be available.
Right. Next, are all subjects taught online in middle and secondary school? And it says this, every attempt will be made to offer all classes online at the middle school and secondary levels. Some electives may have limited availability. So if your student is looking at something special, you're going to have to check with the school to see if an elective is going to be available or not. And I think that also is the same for AP, because I did follow up with that. And if you're taking an advanced placement class, you might have to see if they're going to be able to provide that. If not, I think those are available through Charleston, if there's something you're looking for. And what's our last question, Ms. Sheima?
Last question is, can students still attend James
Ramsey
Technical Institute or Blue Ridge Community and Technical College? The answer is yes. Morgan County Virtual Academy students can still participate in courses at GRTI and BRCTC.
That's awesome. And I saw that Blue Ridge also listed on Facebook if you're curious and you want to dual enroll. I'm not sure how to set that up, but they did have a posting of classes for kids who go to Morgan County schools to take college classes. So there we go. Well, there's some of the information about virtual school here from Morgan County. If you're outside the county and it might bring up a question, you just need to call that office to find out what your county is going to do or state is going to do. And there is a handbook for this. I saw it posted, actually. It's pretty cool if you're on Facebook. The entire handbook is like 30 pages about the re-entry plan. That might help answer some questions as well. But any more information, you can always go to morganschools.net. And neighbors, we know this is a crazy time. The choice is yours, whether to go to brick and mortar school that's in the building or to go to virtual school, and do what's best for you, right, guys? Every family is different. Every family has the different circumstance, and do what you feel most comfortable doing as the situation still continues to evolve with the pandemic and as the COVID numbers, we just got to watch it every day. But me personally, it makes my heart, I go out to those like, what are we going to do? You know, it's such a different year, but don't feel bad about your choice, guys, because it's your choice to make. And it's kind of, well, look at it this way. It's kind of cool to have a choice, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I like choices, but there you go. Now you get to pick, and don't beat yourself up about it, moms, dads, and caregivers. Do what's right for you. You know, you guys know your kids, and you know what feels right. And community, if you're having a hard time, you want to talk about it, call us at the partnership. Our social workers are there at the schools. There's somebody assigned to every school. If you're not sure, let's talk it out together, and we'll try to help you make that choice. I know August 3rd was to sign up for virtual school here in this county, but it's a trial and error thing. And if you need help, I'm sure people are here to help us do this together. Right, guys?
Yeah, I would add too, this is a great opportunity to practice one of our character traits of being patient, because this is all new for everybody. And I know everyone's working really hard, and you know, it's one of those things you don't know until you try, and this is all new. And so there'll be kinks that'll have to be worked out, but you know, we just need to be patient, and good way to practice that character trait. Good
There
time.
you go. Right. And that takes practice too, right? Patience takes practice for sure. Wow. Well, thanks you guys for going over those questions with us. I hope that's helpful. I know people are wondering, and I hope if they're wonder what's going on, they're able to find some of their answers. And if you got a question that's not there, that maybe you thought of something that hasn't been asked yet, we'll try to figure that out. We're all in this together, right? That was fun. All right, it's time to wind down, Ms. Sheima. What's next?
Well, it's time for closing.
Yes.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. A big thank you for your preparing it all for our community. Hey, community from 2 to 92, young and old, it's been fun podcasting with you today. We hope you find some positive action out in the world this week. Bye.
Thanks, guys. I had lots of fun. And remember, neighbors, if you have a need at your house, the Morgan County Partnership is here to help you connect and find the resources to help build the strong relationships at home and to unify our community. You need help with groceries, you're looking for a wellness meeting, is addiction an issue for you or a loved one? The Morgan County Partnership can help you with local resources. And remember, you are not alone.
Right, Miss Nikki, you're not alone. And you, neighbor, you're unique. You are important, and each one of you are wonderfully made. Thanks, guys. Thank you all for joining us. All right. Following this today's audio chapter it's number 7. We're up to chapter 7 from I'm Still Here. I'd like for you guys to stay tuned and join our school therapist, Miss Kidwell. And we're going to close the podcast with a guided desktop relaxation from Ms. Kidwell. She's a therapist we have at the partnership who is at Widmeyer, in case you were wondering who she is. She also does our yoga class on Wednesdays. So stay tuned. Keep calm, you guys. Keep calm and well. And right now we're going to get ready to hear our next chapter. You guys ready? All right, Violet, here we go. I'm Still Here, Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness by Austin Channing Brown. Chapter 7, Nice White People. We were on a working retreat. Earlier that day, the 7 of us had left the safety of the diverse city and traveled north to a quieter, whiter town. After working for a couple hours, my group decided to take a break from the hotel conference room. We spent the rest of the morning sailing. We'll get to that in a second, but let's just say it didn't go well for me. After departing the boat, we ended up at a restaurant bar with a distinctly nautical theme for lunch. We were waiting for our drinks when a coworker walked over to me. "Are you doing okay?" she asked. I thought she was referring to the reason our sailing trip had ended early. I was not used to being on a boat. Out on the water, my stomach had felt like it was moving around as much as the waves. While everyone conversed and laughed on deck, wearing big sunglasses and leaning against the walls of the boat, I was practicing deep breathing techniques and weighing which one would be more embarrassing, throwing up or asking the captain if we could return to shore. But that's not what she meant. "I noticed you're the only person of color here, and I know that can be uncomfortable," she said with great concern. Well, she meant well, and part of me was really proud of her for noticing. I was pretty sure this was a moment of growth for her to walk into a room and realize it's white. But truth be told, I was equally perplexed by the timing of her question. She was right. I was the only person of color in the bar that day. But I had also been the only person of color on the bus we drove up in the conference room we occupied for our work, on the boat we had just disembarked, and when we returned to our workplace, I will be the only person of color in the room again. I smiled, thanked her for noticing, and told her I was fine. To point out that I'm always aware of my color, even with her and our fellow co-workers, would have been too much for that moment. I would have been telling her that her whiteness is not fundamentally different than the whiteness of the space we currently occupied. It would have threatened her sense of goodness, of being a, quote, good white person, unquote, the kind who notices when we are in a restaurant with no people of color. In my experience, white people who believe they are safe often prove dangerous when that identity is challenged. This is in part because most white people still believe that they are good and that true racists are easy to spot. The true racists wouldn't have hired me, wouldn't have brought me on this trip, wouldn't have noticed the homogenous environment. My colleagues were much too nice to be racists. I don't know where this belief comes from, but I do know it has consequences. When you believe niceness disproves the presence of racism, it's easy to start believing bigotry is rare and that the label racist should be applied only to mean-spirited, intentional acts of discrimination. The problem with this framework, besides being a gross misunderstanding of how racism operates in systems and structures enabled by white people, is that it obligates me to be nice in return rather than truthful. I am expected to come closer to the racists, be nicer to them, to coddle them. Even more, if more white people are good, innocent, lovely folks who are just angry or scared or ignorant, it naturally follows that whenever racial tension arises, I must be the problem. I am not kind enough, patient enough, warm enough. I don't have enough understanding for the white heart, white feelings, white needs. It does not matter that I don't always feel like teaching white people through my pain, through the disappointment of allies who gave up and collaborators who left. It does not matter that the, quote, well-intentioned questions hurt my feelings, or that the decisions made in all-white meetings affect me differently than they do everyone else. If my feelings do not fit the narrative of white innocence and goodness, the burden of change gets placed on me. When this narrative of goodness is disrupted by the unplanned utterance of racial slurs, jokes, rants, or their kind whiteness has perfected another tool for defending its innocence, I call it the relational defense. It happens in the media all the time. A government official, teacher, pastor, or principal is caught on tape saying something that is clearly racist. But rather than confess and seek transformation, the person defends their, quote, goodness by appealing to the relationships of those who, quote, really know them. I am not a racist. Just ask so-and-so. She knows me. Or, my family and friends know my heart. They'll tell you I couldn't be a racist. Or, I have a black spouse, friend, child. I don't have racist bone in my body. PR-challenged politicians and celebrities aren't the only ones who use relational defense, and white people are often willing to extend this defense to one another. Once, after inviting me to lead a diversity training session for volunteers at a food pantry, the organization's director explained why she thought the training was necessary. She told me a story about a committed volunteer, a white woman, getting into an altercation with an older black female shopper. Though I hadn't been there when the argument happened, the details didn't surprise me. The director admitted that the volunteer had treated the shopper like a child, using a condescending, paternalistic tone. It wasn't long before the shopper had had enough. Things escalated from there, and the pair were yelling back and forth. The director then cut to the white volunteer's reaction. She marched into my office after the shopper left, shouting about how ungrateful the woman was. She said she wanted to go home early because she was afraid the woman would come back with her gang friends and blow her head off just for trying to help her out. The director summarized, "So you can see we do need more diversity training. But the volunteer isn't racist. I know her. She has black friends, and just not poor black friends. Her problem, and maybe other volunteers too, is their class privilege." I had only just met this well-meaning director, so I wasn't sure how to point out the false dichotomy. It implied that if a person is nice, as evidenced by the fact that they have black friends, then they couldn't possibly be racist or bigoted. Never mind that the woman had blatantly employed racial stereotypes to demean the character of that black woman. If the volunteer was nice to rich black people, it meant she couldn't possibly be racist. White people desperately want to believe that only the lonely, isolated, quote, whites-only club members are racist. This is why the word racist offends, quote, nice white people so deeply. It challenges their self-identification as good people. Sadly, most white people are more worried about being called racist than about whether or not their actions are in fact racist or harmful. But the truth is, even the monsters, the Klan members, the faces of the lynch mob, the murderers who bombed churches, they all had friends and family members. Each one of them was connected to people who would testify that they had good hearts. They had families who loved them, friends who came over for dinner, churches where they made small talk with the pastor after service. The monster has always been well-dressed and well-loved. But I suspect that white people really don't want to believe that we, people of color, know them too. They want to believe their proximity to people of color makes them immune, that if they smile at people of color, hire a person of color, read books by people of color, marry or adopt a person of color, we won't sense the ugliness of racism buried in the psyche and ingrained in the heart. White people don't want to believe that we sense the discomfort. We hear the ignorance. We notice the way they process races. Our bodies, our presence. We know them, and we know they are racist. Entertaining a discussion about race with someone who believes in white innocence often feels like entering the Twilight Zone. This is largely because those who believe in white innocence don't have enough of a knowledge base to participate meaningfully in the discussion. They haven't educated themselves through books or courses. They are unfamiliar with the lexicon on race, not realizing their words have particular meaning. Their understanding of both America's racial history and current racial landscape is lacking. But this does not prevent them from being convinced of their rightness and need to reassert dominance. White people are notorious for trying to turn race conversations into debates and then becoming angry or dismissive when people of color won't participate. White people believe this is because people of color haven't thought it through or are stumped by a well-made point. But the truth is, oftentimes, people of color don't have the time, energy, or willpower to teach white people enough to turn the conversation into a real debate. To do so would be a ton of work. Even on the occasion when a conversation actually proves itself productive, Black folks still have to be on the lookout for white fragility's cousin, white guilt. I don't have much use for white guilt anymore. I used to interpret white guilt as the early sign of a change in heart, a glimpse that a movie, program, or speaker had broken through and was producing a changed mind. While that may or may not be true, for those on the receiving end, white guilt is like having tar dry all over your hands and heart. It takes so much work to peel off the layers, rub away the stickiness, get rid of the smell. Unsolicited confessions inspired by a sense of guilt are often poured over Black bodies in search of their own relief. I experienced this self-indulgent desire for relief after a church celebration for MLK Day. During the service, my friend Jenny and I stood on the church stage recounting the story of our friendship, formed during the Sankofa trip back in college. We weaved together our personal stories, ending with specific details from the conversation on that bus. She chose images that would play on the screen behind us as we spoke, hoping those in the congregation would feel some sense of sitting on the bus with us and experiencing what we did. We talked about the first time someone called me a nigger, the disrespectful plantation tout, the horror of the lynching museum. It worked, well, sort of. By the time we stepped off the stage, white people were lining up to offer their racist confessions. A man who looked to be in his 30s said, quote, "I once called someone the N-word, and I am so ashamed." A white woman in her early 20s said, "My parents wouldn't let me date a Black man." And this only just occurred to me. A 40-ish woman who told me she prided herself on spending time with the Black worship leaders of the church went on to share, "At my workplace, there's an Indian woman who is often discussed behind her back, but I've never stood up for her." On and on the confessions went, but none was healing to my soul. Clearly the congregation had been moved by our story. They were thinking through their personal histories, but the stories of hate, only minor incidents in the lives of the confessors, reminded me of the ease with which racism is practiced on a daily basis. And after half an hour of this, I checked in with my Jenny. "Is anyone making their confessions to you?" I asked. "No," she replied, "no one." But it turned out I wasn't alone. The most prominent Black female worship leaders on stage that day were hearing confessions left and right, too. Black women were bearing the brunt of these stories as white attendants sought relief from guilt over the ways they had participated in racism. None of them seemed to consider how their confession affected the people hearing them. The same happened when I spoke at a conference in South Carolina just a few months after the Charleston shooting. The room was predominantly white, and the murders at Mother Emanuel AME are still very much on the minds of the people gathered. My talk was really well received. The audience cried and laughed in all of the right places. They hummed and hummed just when I had hoped they would. But then the confessions began. For the final 2 days of the conference, I was treated to stories of racist parents at holiday dinner parties, Confederate flags adorning homes, and passive church pastors who think the answer to racial justice is just being nice to all people. None of these confessions involved me. No one was apologizing for not listening to me, for being mean to me, or judging me unfairly. But after I had heard all of those confessions, it felt personal. It felt like I was sitting at the table when the racist joke was made and the confessor said nothing. It felt like I was in the home with a Confederate flag that bothered no one else but me. It felt that way because for every confessor, my body had become the stand-in for the actual people who had been harmed in those situations. I was left with the weight of these moments I hadn't experienced. I was expected to offer absolution. But I am not a priest for the white soul. The more tired I got, the more I have to unglue myself from the offensive, painful stories for which white people expect an absolution I cannot give. They want me to tell them, "Oh, it's okay," and give them a handy excuse for their behavior. Youth, ignorance, innocence, anything to make them feel better. White people really want this to be what reconciliation means: a black person forgiving them for one racist sin. But just as I cannot make myself responsible for the transformation of white people, neither can I offer relief for their souls. So I don't accept confessions like these anymore. No, nowadays when someone confesses about their racist uncle or that time they said the N-word, I determine to offer a challenge toward transformation. For most confessions, this is as simple as asking, "So, what are you going to do differently?" The question lifts the weight off my shoulders and forces the person to move forward, resisting the easy comfort of having spoken the confession. The person could, of course, dissolve into excuses, but at that point, the weight of that decision belongs to them, not to me. I once received a heartfelt apology from a conference planner who felt bad for making purposeful decisions that uplifted white women above women of color as presenters. She explained her thinking at that time, spoke a little about her reflection on the moment, and shared vulnerably about the difficulties of being a conference planner. I was intrigued, not by the confession itself, but by the potential that her change of heart could lead to changes in the conferences she oversaw. And so, rather than accept her apology and close my computer, I asked her to think about how those decisions could be prevented in the future. I offered a couple suggestions. Perhaps in the future, people of color could receive the most airtime during the conference, or perhaps you could make a powerful statement by making people of color the highest paid presenters, a nod to their value, expertise, and the emotional labor of discussing race and justice. I don't know if anything I suggested will go beyond that email, but I enjoyed the imaginative process of making suggestions to someone who professed a desire to change. Whether or not anything I proposed manifested itself was not my responsibility, not my weight to carry. She could decide the significance of her own confession and determine what it would take to fulfill her own reflection on the moment. That was work I was happy to leave between her and the Holy Spirit. And please return next week for Chapter 8, The Story We Tell.
Hi, this is Mrs. Kidwell, school-based therapist at Widmire Elementary. I want to take a moment to share with you all a basic relaxation script written by Dr. Martin Rosman. So hopefully this provides a good peaceful break for you throughout your day, a good opportunity to unwind and just relax. So to get started, I want you to just start to daydream yourself to a place that's very beautiful to you, very peaceful and very safe. Begin by paying attention to your breathing and let yourself take a few nice, deep, full breaths. Let yourself breathe into your abdomen, bringing your breath all the way down into your belly and allowing your out breath to be a real letting go kind of breath. As if with that breath, you can begin to release any tension or discomfort or distraction that you don't need to hold on to. You're just using that breath to begin shifting your attention from the outer world to your inner world, and to take a 5-minute break and go to a place that's peaceful and beautiful, and induce a state of peacefulness and relaxation centered within you. Let yourself imagine that when you breathe in, you're breathing in fresh energy and oxygen that's flowing through your whole body, because you are. And imagine that with every out-breath, you just let go of a little bit of tension, a little bit of discomfort, a little distraction. So you're breathing in energy and relaxation, and you're letting the out-breath be a real letting go of tension. As you may want to allow your eyes to close because it's easier to pay attention to your inner world that way, let any outside sounds around you be in the background of your awareness. They're not important to your purpose right now. If there's ever something you need to pay attention to, you're able to open your eyes and do that. But begin now to imagine yourself going to a place that's very beautiful to you, very peaceful, very safe and secure. A place that you feel really good to be at. And this might be a place that you've actually been to in your life, or it may be a place you visited before in your imagination. Or it can be a new place, some combination, or some place that you've never imagined yourself going to before. It doesn't really matter, as long as the place you're imagining is very beautiful to you. Very peaceful, very safe. A nice place to be for a few minutes. Allow yourself to imagine going there as best you can in your own way. And look around and notice what you imagine seeing in this special, quiet, peaceful place. Notice the colors, the shapes, and the things that you see there. And by the way, if there's more than one place that comes to mind, simply pick the one that interests you the most right now. You can visit others at another time. And so as you notice what you see, notice if you imagine hearing any sounds in this special, peaceful, quiet place. Or whether it's just very quiet. You may even imagine an aroma, an odor, or a fragrance in this place. And you may not. It doesn't really matter. Just notice whether there's an aroma or fragrance in the air. Notice the temperature and the time of day and the season of the year. Notice whether it's very quiet or if there are things that are alive around you. And especially notice any feelings, any peacefulness or relaxation or comfort that you feel. And allow them to be there. And allow yourself to relax into them and to feel that relaxation, that peacefulness. Nothing else to do right now and nowhere else to go. Simply enjoying a few quiet moments in this very beautiful and peaceful place. Find the spot where you feel most comfortable and allow yourself to get settled there. Simply enjoy a few quiet moments. Peaceful, relaxed, nothing to do, nowhere to go, enjoying the beauty and the safety. As you deeply relax in this place of beauty, peacefulness, and safety, you can allow your body to recharge and your mind as well, even your spirit. Just drawing from this sense of deep restfulness and comfort that's there. And if this is a pleasant experience, you should know that you can come back here and enjoy this any time of your own choosing, simply by deciding to shift your attention and your inner world, allowing your breathing to get deep and comfortable, and imagining yourself coming to this very peaceful, beautiful, quiet place. If your mind should wander or get distracted, simply take another breath or two and refocus your mind back into this beautiful, peaceful, and quiet place. And let this be your focus of attention for 5 minutes, or 10 minutes, or 20 minutes, whatever period of time is right for you. And then when you decide to bring your attention back to the outer world, as I'll invite you to do now, allow the images to fade, but bring back with you any sense of relaxation, peacefulness, and refreshment. A good feeling that comes from taking a little time to find that place of calm, quiet, and peacefulness within you. And now that you can come back and visit this place anytime you choose, also know that this place is always within you, and that by even remembering it or thinking about it, you can touch into that feeling of calmness, peacefulness, and serenity, and bring those qualities more and more into your daily life. Thank you all for listening. I hope you all are staying healthy and safe.